Welcome back to Tasty Bites Timeless Travels. Today's 43 of our cruise around the world. Today we're coming at you from the Great Barrier Reef. Come join us. Alright, so let's talk about my adventure at the Great Barrier Reef. If you're new here, this isn't how I typically do my videos. I typically narrate as we go along, like live action sort of deal. But I did not want to take my nice camera to the Great Barrier Reef, and filming opportunities became very tough in some instances due to weather and things like that. So, for the Great Barrier Reef, we booked an excursion through Holland America. The biggest reason I booked through Holland America was because of timing. It was very tough to line up a third-party excursion to the Great Barrier Reef. First off, we did it out of Airlie, which is a tender port, but even doing it out of Cairns, we were not predicted to be in Cairns early enough to do a third party for them out of Cairns. So we went ahead and booked the excursion with Holland America out of Airlie Beach. It's about $300 per person. Not terrible, but definitely not cheap. A little bit cheaper had I been able to do a third party, but I was not risking missing the ship to go see the Great Barrier Reef. So, Airlie Beach, it is a tender port. So, that means that was a long tender port, by the way. It was supposed to be 30 minutes, or that's what we were told. It was 30 minutes to get to shore. So, because we would have passed the ship on the way to the Great Barrier Reef, there was this great idea of, let's just pick up the Great Barrier Reef people at the ship and then go out to the Great Barrier Reef. It will save them an hour at the front of the day and an hour at the back of the day. And that way the tour would line up, because that's why it was so difficult to find a tour that would line up for Airlie, especially with the tender process. Great idea in theory. However, Holland had some challenges doing that, and I don't think it was Holland. I think it was the provider. It was provided, the tour group was Cruise Whitsundays, which is very popular for that area of the world. Very great cruise, excursion company. Great reviews. Had I been an independent traveler that had flown to Airlie Beach with the intention of going to the Great Barrier Reef, I would have booked through them. So it's just one of those weird things that happened. They get up to the ship for the tender process. They don't have the correct size gangway that will get us onto the ship. Also, Airlie was a little rocking that day. It was a little up and down, so it was already a tough tender process to begin with. You throw in the fact they don't have the proper gangway. They thought they had lined it up, and then they put two people on it, and then the gangway popped out of the nuts and bolts area thing. They actually take the two people off and look for an alternative idea. So we were told to meet at 8 o'clock in the morning for an 8:15 departure. At 8:30 is when they started informing us, hey, we're going to a specific boat. That's why we're not part of the tender process, because they started calling all the rest of the tours for Airlie. At 9:30, we were still sitting in the World Theater. And props to the shore excursion staff. They were trying to keep us entertained. They were trying to keep everyone happy. It was just an unfortunate circumstance, right? And they're trying to explain what's happening, but they don't really know themselves. They're having to get pictures texted to them and things like that. It was an interesting time. I was going to film how busy the World Theater was, but we were literally packed in like sardines. They asked all of us to sit in the same area, and it filled that area plus some. It was like 86 people or something like that. Originally, they thought it was going to be 2 boats, but then they realized they could just put us on the one. So that was that part. Well, then they finally call us. That's when they put the 2 people on, and then the bolts pop off, and they have to take them off. So we got stuck in like a cruise stairway. Well, then Kimberly shows up, the cruise and travel director. So we know something's not quite right, because she is kind of the voice and face of the cruise line. And she's like explaining to everyone, hey, this isn't going to work. Our safety officer is at the, I think this was at the middle of the ship. She said he's at the front of the ship. They're looking for an alternative method to get you on. That's when people start really getting upset and saying, why don't they just put us in tender boats and take us to shore? And she said that is like the very last resort, because it's going to add so much to the tour, and they're going to have no choice but to take away time from the Great Barrier Reef to account for it, which makes sense. I mean, it's going to add 2 hours to the tour if you do that. So People were not happy. People were grumbling, but, you know, she's keeping everybody entertained. I actually sent her a compliment because that's a very difficult thing to do. So finally, we end up getting to walk I-95 through the bottom of the ship, and she was hysterically funny. She's like, this is the crew cafeteria. This is where we do this. This is where we do that. So good time had by all during this process. And then we get to deck A forward, and we see a almost vertical platform with the door, like, I kid you not, you were this far, yeah, like maybe this far away from, which that's not going to translate on camera. I don't know why I did it that way, but you had maybe a foot of clearance when the tide, when the water was down, to get under the top of the doorway, out of the ship, and if the water rose up, you were really close to getting your head knocked. I was really kind of surprised they allowed people to do that. I know C and I started talking about, hey, if we can't do this, if this is too much, we'll just see, even though they're not supposed to, if they'll give us our money back if we just book something in Cairns. Not the Great Barrier Reef excursion in Cairns, and I'll get into that in a second, but there was one that was going to go to one of the islands, and just do that instead, because C was already freaked out. She hates tenders. It's a long boat ride out to the Great Barrier Reef. This has been a chaotic morning. It's a lot of hurry up and wait. And patience was growing thin, and then the people in front of us were talking about it, and it was one of those that it kind of got like Easter Island. The more we heard, the more it would kind of work us up. It was one of those that we just needed to go and not think and just do exactly what they said, and it was causing us to think. So that was that process. Somehow, amazingly enough, they got everybody on the tent, or the boat out to the Great Barrier Reef. I don't know how, because this one was also advertised as a moderate excursion. Cairns, it was strenuous. But Great Barrier Reef out of Airlie, because of Whitsunday, it is moderate because of the Reef World platform. So there were people that we thought for certain were never going to get on. They somehow managed to make it on. But I will say it was really scary. C went up it before me, because I told her to go first, so that way if she couldn't do it, then I wasn't already on. She went first, and as she got to the doorway, the water rose, and the only reason she didn't like knock herself out is one of the crew members saw it happening, jumped, knocked her head down, and pushed there's like a little like cushion thing, and like pushed it under to make sure, and her backpack got caught, and so he was basically pushing her down as the water was pushing her up, and she managed to get on. And then someone did fall somewhere in the process, but amazingly enough, everyone got on. Alright, Cruise Whitsundays. Like I said, amazing excursion company. If I was an independent traveler that had flown to Australia, I would have booked them for Great Barrier Reef. The big reason is the platform. C is not a snorkeler. She's not. It's just not her thing. She doesn't like to do it. The Great Barrier Reef, that was my big bucket list item for this trip. Always wanted to see it since I was a child. Had an opportunity to see it. We were going. Now, I'd asked C several times, since she's not a snorkeler, if she really wanted to go out there, if she wanted to pay this money. But because of this platform, she said, yeah, I'll go. Because this platform, it's obviously not a permanent structure out in the Great Barrier Reef, but it is somehow weighted down. It has sunbathing. It has an underwater viewing area. It has a glass bottom boat. It has, you know, some other little things going on. It has lunch opportunities. You're not on a boat all day, because that's what Cairns is. Cairns was a pontoon boat, takes you out to a section of the reef. You jump off the boat, you snorkel, and then you dive, and then you come back on. So you're in motion the entire day. You're on the boat the entire day. This provided some break in that. And we had seen some YouTubes of it, and there's an area that you can just swim, but you have to wear the stinger suit, so she ended up not doing it. But there was things for her to do, or she could just lay out in the sunshine and get some sun while I went and snorkeled. So that was the biggest reason that we went from Airlie, not Cairns. It was because of the access to this Whitsunday platform, which 10 out of 10 recommend. If you've got some people that are gonna snorkel, some people that are gonna dive, and some people who are just kind of there because they want to be there, but they don't necessarily want to do those activities. There was non-swimmer activities, and then there was the staff that would always talk with you. Phenomenal staff, by the way. Great. Do not have a bad word to say about Cruise Whitsunday. So the ride out to the Great Barrier Reef. Now, this is when we really started to question if this was a good idea. we've been on this really big ship. We've had a couple of rough days, but nothing that we really couldn't handle. Yes, I got seasick a couple of times, but not too bad. We knew what the process was going to be like. We had already taken the anti-dizziness, because I get bad vertigo, so I have medicine for it. So we had both already taken the motion sickness medicine and stuff like that. The problem was we left an hour later than normal, so the medicine had already worn off. So that was a problem. And then it was just a bumpy ride out to the reef. You go through the Whitsunday Islands, which are beautiful, hence the name of the provider, Whitsunday Cruises, or Cruise Whitsunday. Beautiful, beautiful. But then when you hit the open ocean, you are galloping the entire way and back and forth. And there was some lady that got so seasick that she threw up everywhere. They had to lay her down. They had to keep checking on her. They gave her ice. So that's why I said I don't have a bad word to say about this crew. They were really good. They were really funny. They were really enthusiastic about their jobs. And they knew that these types of things happen. They passed out the little vomit bags. It was pretty bad. I looked over at Essie at one point and she was just miserable. Absolutely miserable. And all I could think was, gosh, I really hope this is worth it for her to have gone through all this. Because that boat ride out there, it was just not fun. And that's what a lot of people said. Like, they expected it, but at the same time, as much as you expect it, you don't realize how bumpy and how much, because you don't have anything to compare it to. At that point, we had been on the ship for, 40 days, 40 something days. You're not used to being on such a smaller boat for such an intense boat ride. And it knocked everyone for a loop. So, and it's about an hour and a half out from where they picked us up on the ship to this platform at the Great Barrier Reef. So it was an hour and a half of pure, like, up and down, side to side, all kinds of motion. And we are not even roller coaster people, but, we made it out there, and that's what was so important. So we made it to the Great Barrier Reef. All right, the Reef World platform. Great. Perfect. Now they do have part of it that they rent out separately for like suites and like a more like bougie experience, where they have like restrooms on that side and people that serve you and things like that. We obviously didn't have access to that. We only had access to the basic platform, and then they had another boat out there that was like 3 times the size as the one that we were in. That eventually pulled up to the side, and that's where lunch was served, that's where restrooms were at, and that's where if you just wanted to sit and chill in the AC, that's where you would go. So we got to the reef. We decided just to go ahead and eat lunch because it was already like 11 o'clock at this point, 11:30. So, and I think it was 11:45 before they got the boats all moved and in position to where that one could serve lunch. So we said, let's just go ahead and eat lunch, and then we'll go and enjoy the reef activities after lunch. So that way I'm not, soaking wet and have to dry out and everything to go eat lunch. So that's what we did. Now the lunch was good. It was a buffet. Now we hit it so early, it had just opened, that they didn't put up the signs yet. So we didn't quite know what we were eating, other than the ham sandwich and the potato salad. But they had harissa chicken, and then they had this lamb rice dish. We didn't know it was lamb. We couldn't figure out what it was, but it was lamb. And then they had some salad and things like that. The only drink included was water. So they had a bar. So you got a local beer. I got an apple juice because I don't drink and I don't like soda from other countries, but it was a really good apple juice. But their internet was offline all day, and I actually never ended up paying for those drinks because they couldn't run a tab. They couldn't run my card. They said they were going to send it to the boat on the way back. They never got it. I did attempt to pay them 3 different times for those 2 drinks, but was never able to do it. But they did tell me at the end, don't worry about it. So they must have written it off as a loss, or whatever they do in Australia, because I felt bad. I was like, I don't have any cash. I have American dollars, but they couldn't take it. So, tried. But lunch was good. So after lunch, that's when we went back over. We had gotten some lounge chairs on the top, and that's when we went over, and I started getting ready to snorkel. Now, on the boat ride over, they did do a few sales pitches to pitch some special experiences at the reef. Things like guided snorkeling trips, scuba diving, and then they do have something to where if you're not certified to scuba dive, they have a process that allows someone to take you down there in very similar like scuba environment, so that you can go down and see the reef. Now, we didn't really listen to a whole lot of the sales process. I was just happy to go out to the Great Barrier Reef. We were not feeling good with the boat ride. Even when the guy came and checked on us and asked if we had our plans all sorted out for the day, we kind of waved them off. I really wish I would have paid attention more, because something I very quickly learned is snorkeling the Great Barrier Reef. Yeah, it's great. Diving the Great Barrier Reef is where the experience is at. So I had a friend do the assisted dive. His pictures that he got from the photographer, phenomenal. So many fish, so much things to see. So I was snorkeling and struggle with the Great Barrier Reef, and was it a great disappointment? Snorkeling was a struggle, and this people talked about this on the ship for the days to come, and even the folks in Cairns had this challenge. I don't think I realized how strong the current was out there. I knew it was open water, and I've done open water snorkeling in Mexico, but I remember tides are wreaking havoc at this side of the world. I did not think about a tide and a current at the Great Barrier Reef, because there's a reef there to break everything. But it was, and there was a very strong current. So that was a problem. Second, you have to wear fins, and I don't normally like to snorkel with fins. I did it in Mexico. It's not my favorite, but you have to wear the fins. So every time I tried to get off the platform to go out to snorkel, it would push me back into it before I could get my legs up with these fins on to properly push off. It was an absolute challenge for me, to the point I got out of the water. She came up to me and she's like, "I've been looking for you in the water. I can't find you." And I am almost in tears, because we have paid all this money. We have come all this way. We dealt with that entire boat ride, and I cannot even make it off the platform to snorkel the Great Barrier Reef. And C, being the person she is, she was like, "All right, let's just break it down. What is going wrong? What is the challenge? Like what is it?" And I said, "It's the fins." It's like, I was like, "They're just too long, too big, too something. I can't get pushed off." So her genius solution was, "All right, I'll just get you the next size down." And I was like, well, fins don't really work that way. And she goes, "Oh, no, I'm just going to get you the next size down. Just give me those, and I'm going to get you the next size down." And that's what she did. And my feet were not comfortable, but it did work. I had enough room now to push off. And I actually went off the platform a different direction, which also helped. So I was able to finally push off and go. And this current was so bad, she saw me push off and go, and then she just saw my snorkel just woo right across. And she was like, "Man, I didn't realize she could swim that fast." I was not swimming. I was not kicking my feet. I was not doing my arms. That was just the current just taking me. That's how strong it was. But eventually they do have guide ropes. They have sunken buoys down there. So there was a rope that you could hold on to and kind of rope pull yourself, which is why I have no video of the Great Barrier Reef, because I had to do this so the current would just not take me out. They have lifeguard in a little boat thing going around making sure you're okay. They have people in the water all the time making sure that you're okay. And they had told us on the way out that if they think we're not strong enough to swim it, they'll just come and get us, pull us around, and then take us right back to the platform and say, "Anything else we can help you with?" And just basically tell you can't go back in the water because you're not strong enough to swim. I didn't have that happen to me. I just stuck to the guide ropes. So that was cool. That was great. But I also, and I've done a lot of research on the Great Barrier Reef in my day. I knew that it was rainy season, so it's not going to be as visible and things like that. I didn't think about how far down the Great Barrier Reef is. And that's why I say diving would have been so much of a better experience. Yes, I saw tons of fish, right? But you can't actually see the reef. You can't see the colors with it. 2 years ago, people said it was white and creamy. When we went, it was brown. It's a living, breathing thing, so it will change color. So you could see some brownness down there, but you couldn't actually see the reef, and you couldn't get to where the fish like to hide and things like that. I was so used to snorkeling French Polynesia at this point where the coral's right there to the point that it'll skim your knees. It didn't occur to me that you needed to be down. And on the way back, they did talk about when you see the pictures of the Great Barrier Reef and how beautiful it is, they've gone down with lights to light up the area to allow you to see all the tropical fish and the beautiful coral and things like that. That's why the people diving had so much of a better experience than those that just snorkeled. But hey, I got in the water. I saw the Great Barrier Reef. It's Yes, was it not the magical experience that I thought it was going to be? But I snorkeled the Great Barrier Reef, and, you know, that's how it goes. Now, other things to do on the platform. Like I said, you could sun yourself, which was great. You could just go into that first part and just swim, just take a noodle or a life jacket and swim, but you had to put on that stinger suit because it was stinger season. She didn't want to do that, so she never did that. The water was also really, really salty, so I don't think she would have enjoyed it. She wears contacts, and that would have probably bothered them. But they did have an underwater little aquarium, not aquarium, an underwater viewing area. I will say it was very crowded, but you could see a lot of things. I did get some film from that, so it's not the greatest, but check it out. Now, my favorite part of the trip was actually the glass bottom boat. As bummed as I was about the snorkeling, that I couldn't really see anything, I could see the brown reef below me, I could see some of the fish that would be more up. The glass bottom boat provided the viewing that I really had hoped to see. You got close to a different portion of the reef, not where they're snorkeling and scuba diving, because you are divided out in those areas, but to a different part of their section of the reef, and you could see the fish, you could see the coral. Yes, there's glass there, so there was a bit of a glare, but that provided me the magical experience that I kind of wanted at the Great Barrier Reef, kind of how I'd envisioned it in my head. So to me, that was kind of the savior of the day. So I enjoyed it. Check out some of the film I got from the glass bottom boat. I was on the very last glass bottom boat of the day. It was the last activity. As soon as that was over, they were loading both ships to go, and then we were going to go. So after that, we packed up our stuff. We got back on our little boat to go back to the Zuiderdam. The ride back was much smoother. I don't know if they took a different way, because we all think they might have taken a different way. But the ride back was much smoother. They also served afternoon tea, which I forgot about. I had remembered reading it in descriptions of their website, but it's not on the Holland excursion anywhere that you're going to get afternoon tea. So their afternoon tea had very fresh fruit. It had these really good brownies. I will tell you, the watermelon and brownies was all I ate. There was something else there, and I can't remember, but watermelon and brownies all day long. And it was a really kind of festive atmosphere going back. It was a much smoother ride, but I will say, with it being a much smoother ride, though no one was getting sick, we had 2 different people fall down. As far as Cruise Whitsundays, would not hesitate to recommend them. Great people, lots of fun. They wanted to make sure everybody had a great experience. They took the boarding hiccups with stride. They were able to make it happen. They were really funny about it. When we started pulling away from the Zuiderdam in the morning, they said, I bet you no one thought they were going to have to limbo to go to the Great Barrier Reef, but here you are. They were able to kind of pivot and keep everybody in a very joyous, celebratory day. So nothing but great things to say about Cruise Whitsundays. Whitsunday Cruises, I can't remember. It's one of those orders of words. And, if you're going to go out there, like I said, you got to be prepared. It's nature, it's currents. You don't know what the day's going to be like, but it is an experience. It was not necessarily a great disappointment. It is also not something I think I will ever do again unless I can do something like the assisted dive, or if I just get diving certification, which I don't see myself ever doing at this point. But definitely not a great disappointment. It was an amazing time. Now, see, she's not a snorkeler, so she would not go again. The underwater viewing was a little too claustrophobic for her, and the underwater boat, the glass bottom boat, would have definitely been too claustrophobic for her. So for her, it was definitely a one and done. For me, I think if the circumstances were right, I would go back again. But I will tell you, as far as snorkeling and my physical ability and just snorkeling in general, it was much better in other places. So I think scuba diving, though, from what I've heard, diving, no better than the Great Barrier Reef. Gonna end the video. It was a great dinner. It was a good time. Shrimp on the Barbie was such a fun event. We were tired. Even C was tired. The boat ride took a lot out of her. Telling the story of leaving the ship took a lot. A lot of people knew that we were stuck in the World Theater for a long time. Didn't know why. Friends of ours went to Airlie, said it was a beautiful town. It was a great time. It was very hot to walk around, but it was a very walkable city otherwise. So I think if we were ever to make it back to this area of the world for Airlie, we would choose to go and see it as opposed to do an excursion off the ship like that. But it was just a great day. So it was a great day. Looking back, I can say it was a great day. I think in the moment of that day, between the frustrations of trying to board, which we didn't have them on the way back, by the way. They had the proper gangway. They were able to get us right off the way that they wish they would have been able to get us right on. Plus the sea had calmed down a little bit. But with the frustrations in the morning, and then being frustrated with the current, and things just not going my way for so long that day, but finally being able to get in the water and look at the reef, and then having the underwater, viewing in the glass bottom boat, I was good. I was good. It, like I said, it's an experience. It's something to say. It was somewhere I dreamed about as a kid. And sometimes when you dream about somewhere that long, it's not going to be like it is in reality. So, and I think I had run into that, but I still had an amazing experience. We had an amazing dinner. We had an amazing night, but we were tired. So we called it a night. So we're going to call it a video here. Like I said, if you're new here, this is not typically how I do the videos. So, but like and subscribe, you'll see how they're done. Also hit that notification bell, all that fun social stuff, and we will see you back for another video tomorrow. Have a great night. Bye.